everything.
So in order to record everything, because again, it doesn't have to be just like writing things down, it could also be taking pictures or taking videos, but the most important thing you are going to need to do is to bring notebooks, pens, and tape, because you can't find tape in the communities, and you'll wind up like reusing tape, things will be falling down, it'll be a mess. So tape is super important, tons of pens, because again, you can go to the other towns to get pens, but it's a pain in the butt and something easily that we could bring. And notebooks, each staff should definitely have at least one notebook. For each community to have, I guess, like a 5-section notebook with folders that you can kind of section off. And this could be the staff notebook wherever you're in a meeting or whatever you're doing, you know, one of the staff has it on them at all times. And you can put whatever needs to be kind of recorded in that notebook. And then this way, if a staff is doing something they don't have the notebook, they can take their little sheet of paper and stick it in the folder, the corresponding folder. So I kind of broke it down into 5 sections. That worked out really well. So we had a section for budgeting. So writing down how much things cost, how much, you know, the truck and gasoline for the paseo is going to be, writing down numbers. The medical, anytime a student gets sick, writing down the date they got sick, the hour they got sick, what their temperature is, making sure you're taking their temperature, you know, every 2 hours and keeping track of that, making sure you know what medication they've been prescribed, if they're prescribed anything. If they give a prescription, holding on to that prescription, putting it in the medical, and also because that's going to help you serve for the budget of how much things are going to cost.
Even if you're not giving medicine, like keeping a note that so-and-so complained of a headache this day, or this kid had, you know, a stomach ache, or I gave this kid some Pepto-Bismol, or whatever it is. It's nice to have that record of it in the event that something happens later on, or just even coming back, allowing us to see where, if there was a trend, or if there was a reason for it, whatever it was.
To better prepare the students for the summer after as well.
Yeah.
Any student meetings that you guys have, any taking any notes, and again, this you might also want to stick the notes, your individual notes that you have with your own 2 students in here, so that you just kind of see and track student progress, any issues that the students have with community members or even within the group as well, just kind of taking little notes and keeping track of that, and writing the date on everything that you take note of.
And like, or stuff that's with their host family. I know that we had kids that complained about maybe the food with their host family, or things that were bothering them, or maybe they weren't getting along with somebody, and it's important, again, to have that record so you can go back and see that all. Because in the moment you think, oh, I'll remember it, and 4 days later you definitely won't, and you for sure won't remember all those details when you come back from the trip and next fall.
Anytime you're planning curriculum, any ideas that either the students might have in terms of curriculum, anything that happens in the communities you want to jot down and be like, okay, I definitely want to make sure that we address this issue, and figuring out, okay, it'll be better to address it in a curriculum or switching curriculums. And that's also, this is super important for when you come home. Knowing, you know, the kind of things that happened in the Batey or in Nicaragua and how you address them. And also just like, you know, planning out that whatever hour it's going to be, and making sure, you know, a certain icebreaker that might go better with this curriculum and vice versa, just to kind of help things run smoother.
And the last one has community meetings and notes. So I found that this was really important last year in terms of recording who was there. So numbers, like there were 12 GP students, there were 4 GP staff, there were 3 community youth, and 3 community adults. You know, we taught an English class on Friday, July 27th from 2 to 4, and you know, so just keeping track of numbers and stuff like that too, because again, at the end of all of this, it's nice to have tangible, quantifiable things that we have as evidence of our work and what we've done. So when you are at a community meeting, it's also good to have notes, like if somebody comes and speaks.
Yeah.
So I know that last year when we had community members who would talk to our group like about Hurricane Mitch, and it was nice to have those notes and that information about the conversations we had, because we could draw on that later on, but we also could use it in
terms of building contacts and getting phone numbers, knowing, okay, you know, in terms of transportation or in terms of having someone else come to the community or setting up internships. Because the internships, again, that you're going to have to, within this first week, making connections with the community members, knowing what sorts of internships could be available, and how to set them up with the students, taking those notes, saying, okay, you know, so-and-so works, you know, at the consorcio, or, you know, works wherever, and this student might be able to go with him for a part of their internship. So again, just taking notes, jotting them down, recording them, writing the date on them.
With the date, and like we talked about, maybe with like how many students went where. You also do need to log student hours or staff hours. So like you need to keep track of like if Parker went and did his internship for 4 hours on Wednesday, you need to track those 4 hours that Parker spent doing his internship and what he did to keep a log, and then you have that and that information.
And again, that log will also be put on the calendar.
Yeah.
And this is something that you'll make the first day that you're there. You'll just make a calendar for the 6 weeks that you're going to be there, and you also need pencils so that you can erase stuff. And just like this is where you. I guess the calendar you would set up in maybe a meeting place. It could be one of the host family's houses or a house or a part of the community that you know you can keep it. It'll be dry and everyone can meet there at any point. So ours was, we didn't really have a staff house, so to speak, but two of the staff were staying in a certain house and the students would always come and we'd always meet there. So we set up a calendar with, again, the 6 weeks that we're going to be there, anything that we were doing together, or even stuff that students were doing individually, like, an internship. We'd put, okay, Monday 2 to 4, Fatimata's going to do an internship. And then underneath that, we're going to have a curriculum at 5:30 to 7:30. And this way we could change it to, okay, Fatimata's going to do her internship on Tuesday, erase it, put it on Tuesday, so that everyone can see it. And the kids would have to come at least once a day to check in, to make sure that they looked at the calendar, they knew what was going to happen the next day so that they could be on time. And then next to that, we would put any kind of like notes or anything that I don't know, like
additional.
Yeah, advertencias, like anything that the kids would need to know. If we couldn't get in touch with all of them at once, they can go and check in and see that. Like a reminder that on Thursday we're going to have a community cleanup at 7 in the morning.
Yeah, the calendar is important though. It's nice to have because it does allow people to kind of see the bigger picture. I know that where ours was in a pretty public place and the community appreciated seeing it as well. So not only was it a good heads up for the kids, but people in the community were like, oh, and oftentimes they would ask because our calendar was in English, but they wanted to know when we were going here or what we were going to do this day or where this was. And so it was just a nice resource for everyone to have.
And it allows you to jot any ideas that you might have.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe we can go to the Voodoo Museum at some point. We'll just stick it over here for now to make sure that we do it at some point. Kids could also add ideas. Yeah. It wasn't, again, just totally staff run. It was everyone's calendar. And community members, like you're saying, could even add stuff.
Yeah. We had birthdays. We usually had a morning meeting every morning, so we would meet before the day kind of started, after kids had their breakfast and had the chance to do whatever, and we would get together. And oftentimes that was just a chance to get the day started. Kids would go work on their projects, do what they needed to do for the morning, and then in the afternoon, we oftentimes met after lunch and would have a curriculum meeting, and we would do something around that or something that we did as a group. And then, the afternoons, a lot of times we did try to give the kids some time to be with other youth in the community or to, go and play soccer or to go to the river or whatever it was. And then most evenings we would have an evening meeting as well where we would have just, a check-in. It wasn't anything like intense or, overwhelming. And obviously things change. There are, maybe one night somebody's having a birthday party and you're not gonna have an evening meeting at 10 o'clock at night.
This is all stuff that you and the other staff members and the youth kind of come up with together, kind of go with the flow. So again, within that first week, that's where you really need to figure out who your kids are, who the kids in the communities are, who the host families are, different ways to kind of bond, so that the rest of this will all kind of fall into place.
Yep, the first week sets the tone for all of it.
There's a lot of downtime too in the first week, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Because within that downtime, everyone's kind of bonding and everyone's getting to know each other. So to keep that in mind, definitely set up some maybe a curriculum or a youth exchange or maybe like a little quick English-Spanish class or something.
It's good for the kids to be with their families during that time, so it allows them to kind of get to know who their host mom is or who their neighbors are or just how the community runs. For a lot of these youth, the lifestyles of the communities are really different. For a lot of the kids, they're not used to getting up with the roosters at 4:30 in the morning, and that will be a change for some of them. Food and how that all works, the latrines and cold showers.
Yeah, so the adjustment process and goals that you want to set.
Yeah. And have fun.